According to a new report out today, an estimated 90% of Michiganders will need to be vaccinated against COVID-19 to reach herd immunity, which basically means we're going to be in the middle of this pandemic for quite some time longer. But a lot of people are still hesitant to roll up their sleeves. But to help raise awareness of the importance of the vaccine, the Greenhouse of Walled Lake is promoting pot for shots. Yes, you heard that. Pot for shots. With us now on the MegaCast is Jerry Millen. He is the owner of Greenhouse of Walled Lake, the first fully licensed recreational dispensary and medical marijuana center here in Oakland County. Jerry, thank you for being with us.
Hey, Ronnie, how are you? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I will say you're like the marketing king.
Well, the thing is, Ronnie, is cannabis is still federally illegal, but they'll take our tax dollars, which makes no sense, but I guess it does because it's a government. But we can't even advertise, really. I'm allowed to buy billboards and I can do some print advertising, and that's pretty much about it. So you really have to think out of the box. And my background, from television media, working at Channel 50 and 62 years ago to E! and Extra and all the media stuff I've done has taught me you have to think out of the box. And it's knock on wood, it's worked so far.
So you were kind of before my time in the local Detroit market, but you were a sports guy.
Yeah, I'm sports director for UPN 50 and CBS 62. I worked with Rich Fisher and Amir Jacobson for about 8 years. And then I went out to Los Angeles and worked for the E! Network, E! News Live. And then I worked for Extra out of New York. And then I went to Japan and I started in the mixed martial arts fight game. I was vice president of a Japanese company in fighting. And then I got into cannabis.
That's quite the background, but now you're doing weed. The nickname for Walled Lake is Weed Lake. But with that, what made you make this switch? How did you even think about getting into this?
I was working in Japan for 10 years, commuting. I've been to Tokyo about 200 times, and I had young children, and my family's my number one priority. So I'm like, I got sick of watching my children grow up on FaceTime. So I was looking for a new opportunity business-wise, and I thought, and my friends are in cannabis in Colorado and California, and I thought, you know what, this might be a good business venture. And honestly, after getting into it, learning the plant, and starting to go to these compassion club meetings, I met a lot of senior citizens. I met a lot of parents of small children that were autistic or would have seizures. And it convinced me, because at first meeting I thought I was going to go to, I was going to be the oldest guy there and it'd be a bunch of stoners eating Doritos. And it was completely opposite. I was the youngest and no one would talk to me for about 4 meetings. And I finally went up to an elderly lady and said, no one will talk to me. She's like, oh, honey, we thought you were the cops. So they thought that I was undercover. They thought I was an undercover cop, and then they finally started talking to me. And I now, after 16 years trying to get this legalized, there is a lot of medical uses for cannabis. Whether you like it, don't like it, grew up during DARE times like me, doesn't matter. If your loved one is sick or dying, or they're having seizures, and you're out of options, cannabis is a cure for a lot of things.
So, Jerry, I will say that you're talking to someone with ATF. I went to work for ATF. I had to have a top security clearance.
Right.
So I'm probably one of the few people you might meet in your life. I've never smoked pot.
Really? Have you eaten it? Have you eaten it?
I've never eaten it that I know of. I will say I've never eaten it. I've never smoked pot. But we did have Anquinette Jameson, who is a former coworker of mine, and I think she is a great advocate for the other side to help remove the stigmatism that is associated with weed, and to continue the conversation in households about the benefits of weed as well.
Yes. Yeah. And, Anquinette is a great spokesperson. She's actually on the board of directors with me on the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association. And obviously she's from Fox 2. So she's a great spokesperson with all of her television background, and she's actually uses it as a patient. But no, I love her. She's awesome.
So I know that I do remember, I thought it was brilliant. I think it was last year with the Mother's Day promotion that you did. I was like, oh, that's great. Wine, pot, and chocolate. What can go wrong, right? But with that, now you're doing pot for shots. So tell us about this latest marketing campaign you have going.
Well, we did a Popeye's chicken sandwich giveaway about 1.5 years ago when people were like actually killing each other in parking lots for chicken sandwiches. And that was incredible. Like, we had a line down the street, Channel 7 sent the helicopter. I didn't think we could top it. And, not to advocate or denounce the vaccine, because, as a business owner, you have to stay neutral. And I'm all about freedom of choice. You want that vaccine, get it. If you don't get it. But I thought, you know what? I teamed up with a company called U-Baked out of Burton, Michigan. They're one of the top growers and producers here in the state. And they gave me as many pre-rolls as we can give out. So I thought, why not reward people for getting the shot? Why not? They don't have to make a purchase. And it blew up. I was getting calls from Russia, Brazil, New Zealand. New York Daily News did a story on it, CNN. I'm shocked on how many outlets picked this one up. I'm glad, don't get me wrong, but I'm shocked.
But I will say, it's like right now, the vaccine is not available to the general public. So most of the people that are getting the vaccine right now, they may work in an industry that does not allow for them to smoke pot. So we have to remember that,
right.
So there's that balance, right?
Right. So here's the thing. So Oakland County put out a thing on the website. You can sign up. And, we may go past the 30 days. Maybe we'll go 60, maybe we'll go 90. And I'll say this about frontline workers in cannabis. This is what infuriates me. You could be a frontline worker, a doctor. You can go out and take any opiate you want, prescribed or not prescribed. You can drink a gallon of Jack Daniels in your car before you go into work. And if they don't catch you, it's okay. Cannabis is legal. I think you'll see it change over the many years to come. We have a lot of law enforcement, doctors, lawyers, a lot of professionals use cannabis. I mean, a lot. They come in here and they use it. And I mean, you're right. I mean, maybe they're getting tested for it, but you would be surprised on who uses cannabis. You would be shocked by how many people and who they are.
Oh, well, it's very actually, going forward, I think that once the federal government lifts the mandate, if they ever get to that point, you're going to see a big shift in how this actually is. But I will tell you, even when I worked for ATF, I remember my sister's dog, we were trying to get CBD for the dog because of the seizures. But I was like, I can't even touch it because CBD can have traces of,
yes.
Right. And so we've had agents that had a random test, but they were like, hey, it was CBD, but you don't know what's in it. So that's how scary the world is. Like, can you imagine, like, I lost my job because I was feeding CBD to my dog, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's what you're still up against.
Yeah, the rules are draconian. I mean, honestly, it's a plant. It's like anything else. Anything in excess is not good for you. But the problem is it's been illegal for so long that all the studies on cannabis has only been to show any negative side effects, not the positive. I believe it was 3%. I read last from Sanjay Gupta that 3% of the studies in cannabis are to show the positive effects. The rest are, to show the negative. But as well as I do, our government loves money. And you will see it legalized. I say probably the next 4 to 6 years, it will be legalized. And what we're seeing here is a lot of people are coming in recreationally to try cannabis because they're afraid to get their card that might need it medically for sleep, anxiety, stress. I mean, the senior citizens that come into our store at the Greenhouse of Walled Lake is astounding. My average customer is 42 years old here. Because we pride ourselves at the Greenhouse of having a very knowledgeable staff. And we stay in touch with our patients. We encourage them to keep logs on, did this work? How did this affect you? How didn't this affect you? And for pain management, sleep, stress, seizures, I mean, the list goes on. And it's like anything else. You have to try a couple things to see what works. It's not, it's very rarely do we get a lot of people who just want to get stoned out of their minds. That's not the kind of clientele that we cater to at the Greenhouse at all. I mean, they're welcome to come here and buy products, but we pride ourselves on, number one, being here for patients. And secondly, people that are kind of curious.
Jerry Millen with us here on the MegaCast. He's the owner for the Greenhouse of Walled Lake. With that, Jerry, talk a little bit more, if you can, about some of the products and some of the things that you do offer there in Walled Lake.
Hey, grab me a couple things of candy bars and fudge and stuff. Wait, I'm just telling one of my guys to grab me some.
Oh wait, you have chocolate?
Oh yeah, listen, Ronnie, we have everything. We have a friend of mine actually bought the rights to Mackinac Island fudge, and now you can buy Mackinac Island fudge that is medicated. We have some of the most delicious chocolate. We have a candy bar called Super Baked, and it's like Superman ice cream. It looks like the Superman ice cream, tastes just like it. It is delicious. We have gummies. We have suckers. We have, pre-rolls, flour. We have transdermal patches that you can see. A lot of seniors will wear them on the inside of their hands. But no, here you go. There's the fudge right there. There's the fudge. So
wow.
It's like Mackinac Island fudge. They have some delicious chocolate bars, and it doesn't taste like weed. It tastes like chocolate, and everything is tested. It's also dosed properly in 10 milligram pieces so that you can say, okay, you can only start with 5 milligrams, especially with edibles, take it slow. And if 5 doesn't get you there, you take 10. We're very cautious on people when they come in. We tell them, take this very seriously. You don't want to drive a car after eating an edible because it takes an hour, sometimes an hour and a half to take effect. We're very responsible here because I want to make sure that we make cannabis for the masses and we put a good face on it. And it's a personal choice. I grew up during DARE, and I feel I was brainwashed on cannabis. And I think there's a lot more. If you really study up the history of cannabis, you'll understand why it's illegal. It's a lot of control. Hemp was illegal. Come on, hemp's illegal. Why? Because of paper. It competed with paper. Now hemp is legal. And I think you're seeing a lot of those things change. But over the next 4 to 6 years, you're going to see cannabis legal in America. And I want it to be a slow rollout.
We've had, I know in speaking with Antoinette, with Q, talking about some of the issues with the banking due to the federal rules and the restrictions as well. And I can tell you from my time with ATF, there were a lot of issues with these federal and local task force, because on a local side, it's allowed, but on the federal side, it still isn't. So this issue is not going away anytime soon, but there is an education process with that as well. But
we have banking. There is banking available. Like we have banking. We pay enormous fees. I mean, if you knew the fees it cost me to have a bank, it's ridiculous. But we do have banking, 100%.
But I know that as well, because it's about removing the stigma that's attached with weed. And that's going to take a long time because it took a long time to get it there too. And now you have to kind of unwind it per se.
Yes, you do. And we're unwinding the stigma of weed every day. I mean, it's amazing. I'll give you an example. We gave a private class because we do a lot of education. Until when COVID hit, we had to stop a lot of it outside of the building. We'd go to senior homes and we'd give seminars on THC and CBD. A couple of weeks ago, I gave a little seminar in my office to 10 school teachers that reached out to me because they wanted to learn more about it. They're all middle-aged school teachers. And they're like, look, people think that we're holy rollers because we're school teachers. We're normal people. So we want to try cannabis. Can we come in and learn some stuff? And we taught them. And actually, a couple of the teachers want to come and work as bud tenders on the weekends, actually. So the stigma's unwinding. And that's where I feel like I kind of come in because I really want to educate seniors. I want women to get involved because, women are empowering and women, they get together. Instead of Wine Wednesday, I want Weed Wednesday. There's alternatives, and you don't have to smoke weed. You can use a chocolate bar. There's a gummy. There's a tincture. You name the product. Drinks are starting to come on the market. There's so many different products to try. They're coming out with wine that they're removing the alcohol content and they're replacing the wine alcohol content with cannabis. So it tastes like wine that has a cannabis effect to it. So it's crazy.
That is fascinating in itself.
See, they tried
But with that, Jerry, I do have to say before I let you go, I have to touch on the things that are going on in Walled Lake, because I read the Deadline Detroit article.
Yes. Yes.
What the heck? Are you just suing everyone? And how many PPOs do you have on for people out there? Come on.
It's not about suing anyone. This cannabis industry brings out a lot of nefarious characters who just want money. And I've had some people stalk me. And the individual that stalked me is now, his house was just raided. All of his electronics were taken. He's charged in Livingston County. He's also got a charge in Oakland. So sometimes you have to bring charges against people to stop their crazy behavior. Because, they threatened to rob the place. They put pictures of my house on the internet, my address. And it's the people that did not get a license in Walled Lake. Because there's a lot of money involved in this industry. I'm not going to lie. It's a very, it's a growing industry, let's say. And some people that nefarious characters that want to be in couldn't get in. So they attacked me and my family for 10 months. I couldn't get law enforcement to do anything. Facebook is disgusting. Facebook won't take threats down. They won't take anything down, I guess, unless you're President Trump. But my family was threatened. I was threatened. Facebook sucks. I hate Facebook. They would not take it down until his house was raided. They finally took it down after 10 months. So it's not me suing people, Ronnie. It's people threatening my life.
So with that, though, I will say, if they're threatening you, look, you were a member of the media, but you were lucky enough to be a member of the media before social media.
Oh, thank God.
If I took offense with everyone that wrote anything negative about me, my life would be consumed right now.
Oh, Ronnie, listen, I have no problem with negative comments. Being in the media even before that, you know what it's like when you're in a public eye, they attack you. But when you are attacking me personally, when I'm not in public eye anymore and you're attacking, they put pictures of my children on the internet. That's way over the line. They're telling people rob the place. It's full of cash. The safe's in the basement. That's way out of line, way out of line. And our internet laws have not caught up. It's going to take somebody to die. And, I think Facebook and Twitter and all these social media platforms, they should be held accountable because they're not held accountable for anything. I could say I'm going to kill Ronnie Dahl on Facebook. They wouldn't take it down and then come kill you. And guess what? Facebook's not liable. That's ridiculous. So it's going to take somebody probably to die. And the only way I could get it to stop was to file a couple of lawsuits. And guess what? It's pretty amazing when you file some lawsuits and you get somebody in the pocketbook, they stop. And when they get raided and they get charged.
But with that though, can I ask,
Yeah.
what is this? Because some people are saying this is also about corruption in Walled Lake. There is a Facebook page out there. I think I've seen a couple times too. What is your relationship with the city manager, Dennis Witt? Do you have a relationship with him outside being a business person?
No, other than being a business owner, I was just appointed to the DDA. And I think any business, whether it's cannabis or if I own the Dairy Queen, you have to have a relationship with your city that you're trying to help rebuild. I'm trying to help rebuild Walled Lake. Do I work with the city? Absolutely. Did I donate $10,000 to needy families at Christmas? I did. Did I give $5,000 of turkeys to Walled Lake? I did. Do I work on the trunk or treat? Absolutely. You have to be partners with the city. The corruption part is a joke. It's sour grapes from people that did not get a license here. I was sued by a group of individuals that didn't get a license here, and they sued the city for corruption. It was dismissed. Zero proof. The problem is, as well as I do, if you tell somebody the sky's purple enough, they're going to believe it's purple if they're that type of people. So nothing's ever been proved. The case was dismissed. I was sued frivolously. It cost me $30,000 to defend a frivolous suit. If anybody has any corruption, bring it forward. They've been saying it for 2 years. But here's what happens, Ronnie. Look at a city like Berkeley. Whenever a city opts in for cannabis, they got 18 applications, I believe, in Berkeley. They gave 2 licenses. Guess what they got after that? 16 lawsuits. Corruption. It was handled wrong. So what did Berkeley do? Berkeley was smart. The mayor and the city council said, you know what? No licenses. You guys want to sue? If you don't get a license, we're pulling the plug. Greedy people are behind all these lawsuits, all this corruption. And when you're on top, you take all the arrows. I've been in the media. You know what being in the media is like. I can take every arrow and every bullet they throw at me. But if you mess with my family, you got a huge problem.
Yeah, and I will say, just to let you know, I voted for medical marijuana, but
Right.
I also live in Keiko Harbor, and I voted against allowing for, recreational marijuana to come in because we're such a small community. On top of that, I don't even know if you'd be able to find a location that wasn't within the distance requirements of a church or a school, because there are a lot of requirements, and Anquinette was explaining.
The only requirements are for schools, 1,000 feet. Churches do not apply. Only schools, cursory, K through 12.
She was also talking about the security backgrounds that you all go through to even be able to get a license.
It took them 8 months to license me. 8 months. I am the cleanest person you will find in cannabis. I can guarantee you that. Maybe me and you, I should say.
Yeah, but with that, I will say there seems to be in a city of just over 7,000.
7,000.
Walled Lake seems to be kind of taking an arrow when it comes to the issue of cannabis, because I do know there are some situations in which the FBI has been involved in investigating some of the companies and some of the licenses and the rules and regulations behind, but we won't get into all of that. But I think you're a marketing genius and the ways that you've been trying to get your message out about.
And Ronnie, as well as I do, with that, when you put yourself out there like that, people are going to attack you. It's just the nature of the beast. So I fully expect it. I'm trying to go to some other cities right now. This is all about education. And to me, it wouldn't be a bad place in Keego. There's, Phil Troes in Keego Harbor, the heating and cooling company, Mr. Troes, he would love to turn that into a cannabis facility.
I'm going to tell you that's 2 blocks from me, and I'm going to say no, because I've also seen the lines outside some of these places, and go to Pontiac.
Well, that's just bad planning.
That's where they're fighting.
Ronnie, you
they
can't
have
say
a lot
that.
of
But Ronnie, put yourself in the position of, say your mother is dying, God forbid, of cancer. and she needs cancer medicine. Why does she have to go to Pontiac? I mean,
Why can't I go to CVS or Rite Aid?
Because your federal government won't allow it. Because the federal government won't allow it.
But that's the focus that needs to be happening right now. And like I said, but we won't get into the debate about my personal feelings or your feelings as well. But I do say,
but the lines, I just want to say the lines, right? But the lines are caused by bad planning. I do 1,200 people a day at my store, and I have no lines. Only time I had lines is when we were shut down for COVID and we had to do curbside, and it was chaos. I put 1,200 people a day through my store, and we never have a line. So it's just bad business people, and cities not vetting the right partners for these cannabis businesses.
Well, I will say you're a marketing genius when it comes to getting your marketing out there. And of course, your relationship and your understanding of how the media works, I'm sure has helped play into your success as well.
Immensely.
Hey, Jerry, anything I didn't ask before I let you go that
no, I just want to make sure
share with the public?
I want to make sure people, understand fully that I'm not just some money grubbing freak that sells weed, because that, that's what, because everybody brings up the money. Listen, I started this 16 years ago as a business, and I learned there are true patients. I see hundreds of sick and dying people every day that make me cry in my store every day. I had a woman come in the other day tell me she was on 17 opiates. Now she's on 5. So it works as a medicine. I have been, always will be here for the patients. Is it nice to have recreational? Absolutely. But first and foremost, I work with the patients. Otherwise, I wouldn't spend 16 years trying to make this legal.
Yeah, I will say I watched a Real Sports episode with some of the previous football players that were talking about how they can't use weed for pain management, but the doctors can pump them full of opioids, which then lead to addictions. It's
Talk
a
to Calvin
fascinating
Johnson,
story.
talk to Darren McCarty. They're all, all the pro. Listen, even when I was at Channel 50, do you know how many pro athletes smoked weed? I mean, I was friends with all the Lions. I'd hang out with the Pistons. They all smoked weed. They still do. This is a big joke. It's a farce. Pull the cover back. Everybody's using weed. A lot of sports leagues now are taking weed off their banned substance list because they all know they use it. Baseball players have been using it forever. My buddy was a pitcher in major leagues, and they knew when they would get tested. It's a joke, I mean, last year I paid $2.1 million in federal taxes, and I'm considered a drug trafficker. I think that'll change real quick when they realize how much money the federal government's going to make.
Well, Jerry, we'll leave you on that, but we so appreciate the conversation. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Ronnie. Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Great to virtually meet you.
Right. Nice meeting you too, Ronnie. Thanks.